name is Katie Beringson. I am the Director of Admissions and Student Affairs at the new school, the University of Arizona. So we are in Tucson, Arizona, and we just had our inaugural class start in August of this past year. So we are brand new, but it's fun. We have provisional accreditation right now. And once we graduate our class, which will be in August of 2023, we will have full accreditation. So just a heads up on that. We have no concerns whatsoever about being fully accredited. We get site visits every few months. I think it's every 6 months, the next one in summer. So we'll go over some slides in a little bit too to kind of share that with you. But I am going to go ahead and share my PowerPoint. And my supervisor, hopefully everyone can see that. Hopefully. PowerPoint. Hoping. Okay. All right. So that is my boss. That is Dr. Price Johnson, and she's actually going to be joining in about at 5 o'clock. I'm sorry? Oh. So she will jump on at 5. So she'll be on and you can ask her a lot more questions as well. But I will do the PowerPoint and then we'll go through any questions if you guys might have them. There's myself. So just an introduction. So we are the first.
He probably was crusty and nasty and.
So we are the first new veterinary medicine program at a public land grant university in more than 40 years. So with our program, we give you real world experiences right from the beginning. So we ask that you are fully vaccinated with your rabies vaccine right away because you are literally working with animals from the first week. So that's just a heads up on that. Another really big, I think that a lot of our students love about our curriculum is we are a team-based curriculum. So what that means is we do not do lectures. I shouldn't say that. We do very little lectures. The majority of our classes are done by team-based learning. So you're put in groups. You're given pre-work is what it's called. And then you work within you work before the class starts. And then when you have class, you go into breakout rooms or when we're actually in person, you work within your group to talk about that case, to talk about the different items that you were supposed to read. And then you meet back together with the professor, and the professor then might lecture to you about why the answer was this way or why your classmates thought a certain way for a certain reason. So it's a little bit different of a normal curriculum. And to be perfectly honest, a lot of our students are very taken back by that at first. You know, you're so used to your lectures in undergrad. It's definitely a different type of learning, but we work through that. We give you a whole bunch of information about this, and we give you practice examples of team-based learning. So it is a little bit different than the typical, you're sitting in a class of 220 students and you're getting lectured. It's really more one-on-one, and you're really focusing on different aspects of the curriculum. So this is kind of our history. So you can see that we got the reasonable assurance back in fall of 2019. We got the provisional accreditation in 2020 of spring. And then our first class, they started in fall. And then we had our inaugural class in August. Let me move this up. Okay. And then in August of 2023, we will be fully accredited. So kind of here's our mission and then our values as well. These are going a little bit more into detail on our website, but you can kind of see what we're looking for. We're really looking for student-centered, day one ready veterinarians. So we want you ready from the moment you graduate, that you will be ready for school, for a workforce as a veterinarian. So kind of what else makes us kind of stand out is our 3-year program. So a lot of other schools are 4 years. We are only 3 years. So it's a good and a bad thing. The good thing is that you're done in 3 years, right? You have that 4th year, you can start working right away. The bad thing is you are packed, like from the get-go. You have something to do every single summer. You don't have any summers off. So you have to keep that into account. But we do give wellness breaks. So I don't think I put the slide on here, but on our website, we do offer a curriculum plan which will show the different wellness breaks throughout the year. And they can be a week long to 2 weeks long. But that's just something to think about. It's a very intense program, but you also have to remember you're getting done a year earlier than most other students. Again, our team-based learning. So we are lecture free. We have found that this model works really well for students. It gets you engaged, it gets you talking, and you don't just sit behind and just read and have to listen to someone talk. You can really just engage with the professor. Another unique quality is our clinical model. So we do not have a hospital on site, but we do have 250 clinical partnerships. So that is within Arizona as well as other states as well. So we are working on more, and we are working on ones overseas and many different opportunities that you might have if you want to do something specific, especially if it's exotic animals, you can always go overseas as well. So here are our basic requirements for admission. So you have to have the 3.0 GPA and your prerequisite GPA, your overall GPA, and your science courses. So when I say a 3.0, we do look at a 275 to a 299. That is just kind of given a little bit extra look. So we will look a little bit more closely at your letters of recommendation, your GPA trends. So we're really looking for that 3.0. But if you have that 275 to 299, we do take a closer look at your application to see if we can push you through, to see if you're going to meet the overall requirements of the coursework for the program. We do require 42 prereq hours, and then we require 3 letters of recommendation. And I would encourage one from a veterinarian. You don't absolutely need one, but our committee really looks negatively upon if you're working with the clinic and you don't have one. We kind of try to think, well, why don't you have one from that clinic? If you've been working with them, you should have one from a veterinarian. So we really encourage that. We don't have a specific number of hours that are needed, but the more hours you can get, the better your application will look. So there's not a minimum set though that you absolutely need. Here's kind of just a little application process. So at first we go through your application to see if you have that 3.0 GPA. Again, if you do, you get a direct invitation to our supplemental assessment, a supplemental screening, and that's done through Kira Talent. And that is on-demand timed video assessment. So it's literally you just listening to us ask a question and then you responding to the question, and it's recorded. And then we send them to our staff and volunteers that work with us. So veterinarians, staff, faculty members will then look at your answers and then score them. And then from there, we look at a thorough file review. So that's going to be your application, your supplemental screening, those recordings. And then that would then be, you would get an MMI invitation. So that's the multiple mini interviews. So there are so many different steps in this process, and we walk you through the whole thing, but this is kind of just a little snapshot of what we're looking for. The MMI process is holistic. So those reviewers that we see your application don't see any identifying information about you. They don't know your GPA. They don't know what school you went to. They don't know your letters of recommendation, your experiences. They know none of that. All they know is you in front of them. We had to do it virtually last year. We'll probably do it virtually again this year. But it will just be you and them talking about the question at hand. And then the final step is the final review. And that's when your file actually goes to the admissions committee. And that's when everything is looked at. So your initial application, your Kira supplemental, your supplemental assessments, your MMI notes and score, and your letters of recommendation, essays, everything's looked at by the committee during the final review. This kind of looks at, since we only have had one class, this is what our demographics look like. So we had 59 non-Arizona residents, 59%, and then 41% are Arizona residents. So about a 65-45 split. We're looking for about the same again this year, maybe a little bit more out of state and a little bit less Arizona students. But we should know that number probably next week. Hopefully those in admissions know it always changes. So we won't know really for sure until the first day of school. So this is our application pool for those that started in August of 2020. So we had 518 applications that were submitted, 244 students interviewed, and we had 110 students that matriculated that started in fall of 2020. So get ready for the next number. So it's a big jump. We had over 1,000, 1,550 applications submitted for this past cycle. And these students will be starting in the fall of 2021. So they'll be starting in August. I definitely expect that number to be up more. I would hope I'm guessing it's going to be 2,500, 2,000 at least. And then again, 300 students that we invited to interview, and then 110 that we will have for entering class. We will not go above that 110. That's the maximum amount that we will go. This kind of just shows you our more demographics of our incoming students, or our students that started in the fall. So again, 110 students, and we had ages from 19 to 51. Our average age was 26, and you can kind of see where all of our students are coming from, the different states, the schools represented, and the different degrees that they've had. So it doesn't have to be a science degree. Obviously, a lot of our students are science majors, and mostly that's just because of our prereqs. Obviously, you have to meet those prereqs, and it's easier to do those if you're a science major. And that's it. So I talk super, super fast, I know, and I'm sorry, but that's our contact information. I'll put my direct email in the chat as well. So if you do have any questions, I am more than happy to answer in another Zoom or now. Again, my supervisor will be on, my colleague, Dr. Price Johnson, will be on shortly too. And so she'll always be around if you have questions afterwards as well.
Yeah, I have a question. Do you guys require a GRE for?
We do not. Yeah. Oh, thank you. We do not require the GRE, so that we do not require any of that. It's literally, we just look at that 3.0 GPA, or really that 2.75. I say 3.0, but we'll look at a 2.75 as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Joshua, I think you had a question.
Can I see your contact info again?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm going to put it in the chat.
Okay, Mr. Oh goodness, I just forgot your name. Nwafor?
Yes, how are you? Yes, Nwafor.
Say it again.
Nwafor, yeah, Nwafor, the W is silent, yeah.
Yeah, Nwafor.
You were close, yes.
Nwafor.
All right, so let me share my screen here. 1 second. Hopefully everyone can see it. Can everyone see my screen? All right, good. All right, everyone. So my name is John Nwafor. I am the National Director of Student and University Partnerships for Ross Vet. I'm a jack of all trades for the school. I do transcript reviews, one-on-one advisements. I lead national information seminars and webinars for Ross Vet, and I'm also a regional interviewer. I've been working in the veterinary field as far as the admissions field for 8 years. So I've had a chance to see students that I've interviewed and recruited. Now they're out there working. So I've seen the full life cycle. So if you have any questions regarding the presentation, regarding Ross Vet, please feel free to reach out to me after this presentation here tonight. So as far as our timeline at Ross, so Ross University is an international AVMA accredited vet school located on the island of St. Kitts. So you do have a study abroad experience. So our program from start to finish is 3 years and 4 months. It breaks down in 10 semesters. Your first 7 semesters, or your first 2 years and 4 months, you'll study abroad at our St. Kitts campus. Now, at Ross, we have a full-fledged campus community. We have 5 different lecture halls. We have a large animal teaching facility. We have our own veterinary clinic. We have a comprehensive research center, and we have over 500 animals on campus. So you'll have a chance to work with cats, dogs, large animals as far as livestock, equine, exotics, marine mammals, and also primates. So your first 3 semesters at Ross are very science theory focused. So you'll take your gross and microanatomy courses, physiology, pathology when it comes to different animal species. And then semesters 4 through 7 is more clinical intensive. You'll actually perform several live surgeries while at Ross. So you'll be working through our veterinary clinic and doing different rounds there. Now, with our program, since it is an international program, we partner with similar AVMA accredited schools in the US. So you actually do a soft transfer to a US-based College of Veterinary Medicine for your last year, semesters 8 through 10, and that's your clinical training. So we partner with 23 out of the current 33 US colleges of veterinary medicine. This is a very seamless transition. You don't have to reapply. Since we have contracted seats, you would actually select 4 schools out of our partnership list, and then our clinical faculty will then assign you to one of those selections. During your clinical year, you'll take your NAVLE. That's the only board exam that you'll take coming out of veterinary school. With our most recent cohort, we had about an 85% first-time pass rate on the NAVLE. So we have a variety of resources for you as a student to help you prepare and, of course, pass the test. So here's a quick list of our affiliated schools. So as I mentioned before, we partner with 23 out of the current 33 AVMA accredited US veterinary colleges. As I mentioned before, we want to make sure that we're assigning you to a school where you see the most caseloads. And we do this for a couple of reasons. One is that the majority of our students at Ross come from the States. I would say 95% of our students come from either Canada or, of course, the US. All corners, they come from the Northeast, down South, Midwest, West Coast. They converge on this island down in St. Kitts and kind of create this island family. So we want to make sure that we're getting you back to a US school to see those caseloads that are pertinent to your career interests. And then second is that a lot of these US colleges have their own niche. So we want to make sure that if you have an interest in small animal medicine, large animal medicine, exotics, we're assigning you to the appropriate school where you'll build that knowledge base. One thing about our program is that we do not track. So while at Ross during your preclinical studies, you'll work with everything. We'll expose you to small, large, and exotic animal medicine. And we also have a variety of clubs and different honor societies where you can kind of tailor your educational experience based on the animal group that you want to work with as a clinician down the line. So for those of you, hopefully you guys have been to the Caribbean. A couple of people on this call have been to the Caribbean for a vacation, but St. Kitts is located down in the Lesser Antilles of the Caribbean. A quick history lesson on St. Kitts is that their main economic driver is tourism. So infrastructurally, it's a pretty developed island, has, 4 or 5-star hotels, restaurants, golf courses, the whole nine. A lot of expats own property down in St. Kitts. Now, because of that, traveling to St. Kitts is fairly easy. They have an international airport, and all the major airlines, American Airlines, United, Delta, fly in and out of St. Kitts daily. St. Kitts is a small island, only about 40 to 50,000 locals, so it's small, but you'll have a chance to do a lot with the local community when it comes to just educating them on animal welfare and different clinical situations. And also, too, one thing I didn't mention before is that even when you study abroad for your preclinical studies, you won't be abroad for 2 years straight. We do have breaks in between semesters. So if you wanted to come back home and see family, you could definitely do that. A lot of our students do travel home for break, and then, of course, they return to the island to resume their classes. And it's only about a 2-hour flight from Miami, Florida, so it's not that far offshore. So as far as admissions criteria, as the colleague from the University of Arizona was saying earlier, we take a holistic approach when we assess candidates. You want to be in that B range. I would say about a 3.0 to 3.3 overall GPA and about a 3.0 in your prerequisite GPA. And when I say prerequisite GPA, I'm talking about the classes that you'll take as far as General Bio 1, General Bio 2, chemistry, organic chemistry, biochem. You want to make sure you have that solid foundation in the sciences. Also, too, I try to tell pre-veterinary students that I work with that you don't have to be a perfect 4.0 student to get into vet school, but you have to be consistent in your sciences and also to be well-rounded. So that's what we look for. We look for 2 letters of recommendation, 1 academic from a science faculty member from your undergraduate college, and then 1 professional letter of recommendation from a DVM that you shadowed or work with. We look for 150 hours working specifically with a vet, just because we want to make sure that you understand what it entails to become a veterinarian. It is a demanding profession, so we want to make sure that you've taken the time to actually work with a vet and get some experience. If you apply through VEMCAS, there are essay questions that you'll have to answer. And then at Ross, we do perform one-on-one interviews. We do more virtual Skype-based interviews or Zoom-based interviews. So you don't have to travel down to the island. We actually have regional directors of admissions around the country. And our conversation is our interview is more behavioral based, right? So it's more conversational, and our job is to really understand who you are as a student based on your academic performance as well as your clinical performance and your goals and why you want to become a veterinarian. So I kind of gave you a shortened version of the presentation here tonight, but if you have any questions, my email is right here, johndean.nwafor@rossu.edu. Also, too, if you are on social media, feel free to follow our Facebook or Instagram pages. Just search Ross Vet, that's our handle, and you'll get a different perspective on our program when it comes to what our students, faculty, and alumni are doing. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Daniels. Thank you for having me. I will share my screen. Okay, hope everyone is doing okay this evening. Once again, my name is James Perry. I'm the Director of Veterinary Admissions and Recruitment here at Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine. To discuss some of the, discuss the admission process overall for our college. We will start off discussing some of the prerequisites. We do require students to have a minimum 100 semester or 150 quarter college level credit hours. There are specific prerequisites that are required that I will discuss on slide 5, but the minimum cumulative and science grade point average is on a 4-point scale. You must have a minimum 3.0 grade point average and a minimum science of a 2.8 grade point average to qualify for application here at the College of Veterinary Medicine at Tuskegee University. The prerequisites, you cannot have anything lower than a C. Technically, if you have 2 Ds or more in any prerequisite, that could qualify for decline or a denial of admissions. But we do try to work on a holistic basis of, evaluating students for admissions. Even though the 3.0 and the 2.8 of science GPA is recommended, you want to exceed that. You want to exceed that to be competitive. So the last application cycle, most students that received an interview had an average cumulative GPA of a 3.4 and an average of a 3.3 science GPA. We do require the GRE, and the average GRE is usually a 295, but we do not require a minimum GRE. A lot of vet schools are dropping the GRE, and we are in discussions right now to decide whether we're going to do the same, but for right now, we do require the GRE. And the reason why I want to put emphasis on exceeding that GPA is because if you think about how many vet schools that are in the country or even across the world, but just in the US, there's 32 now. VMCAS technically gets over or they exceed 10,000 applications. On an average of 100 seats per school average, there's approximately 3,200 students that get admitted. So that means it leaves quite a amount of students that meet the criteria that don't get an opportunity to get admitted. So you want to make sure that your application is very competitive. You want to exceed that criteria, even though the GPA is not the only indicator of success. And it's not the only thing that we look at when we evaluate applications, but it do kind of open that door, to receiving that interview and to, get that opportunity to really showcase your knowledge and skills. So we have 67 prerequisites that we do require. There's no real major that we, require. We have people that major in animal science, biology, pre-med, but we've also have students that major in English and other disciplines. But as long as you meet those prerequisites, you are eligible to apply, as long as you meet the prerequisites and that you have the minimum criteria. You do not have to have the prerequisites before application. For instance, if you're applying this cycle, the prerequisites are not due until June 1st of 2022. Here's a list of our prerequisites. 6 credit hours of English or written composition. Now, when you look at the top part of these prerequisites, because for the sake of time, we won't discuss all of them, because the first, English, written composition, humanities, social sciences, liberal arts, mathematics, those are a lot of the courses that you take in your first year, or maybe the first half of your second year, sophomore year in college. What the admissions committee really look at, they really look at your sciences, because veterinary science is going to be all science. So they're going to look at your advanced biology courses. They're going to look at your biochemistry, your organic chemistry 1, some of your science electives. They're going to look how you perform as indicators of success in vet school, because vet school, you're going to take some of the hardest science courses that you've ever taken in your life. And it's going to be not only just some of the hardest science courses you're going to ever take, it's going to be a course load of 18 to 21 credit hours in one semester. So for instance, that first semester, you're going to take physiology and anatomy and some of the microbiology. You're going to take some of the hardest courses that you ever take in one semester. And so the transition from undergrad to vet school is a big leap, and you want to make sure that you're honing in on your sciences. And I tell you, for some of the applicants, 2 courses that we've seen from data is that organic chemistry 1 and the biochemistry. Students here, at least, speaking of only Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine, for some reason, the biochemistry and organic chemistry 1 are 2 courses that we have seen where students are successful. If they do well in undergrad in those courses, they're successful in matriculating in vet school. Now, some of the students that don't do so well in biochem and organic chemistry 1, for some reason, have a very tough time in that first semester in vet school. And that's just from the data we've pulled. So you really want to make sure that you want to have a competitive application. Make sure those upper level biology courses, that biochemistry, you're doing well. Now, when we say 9 credit hours of advanced biology courses, we're talking about anatomy, biology, 300 level and above biology, immunology, microbiology, physiology, or zoology, but it's not constricted to just that. And I will say this, even if you have anatomy and some of these courses that are listed and it's not 300 level, we will still consider that an advanced biology. So I do want to tell you that. Then also, some schools don't have, if you're a biology major, you might not take intro to animal science. So I'll explain that on the, I want to say the next slide, because students do ask me about substitute courses and what can they do if they don't have biochemistry lab and they only had a biochemistry. Then there's certain things that you can do. So if you take biochemistry, and we recommend 4 credit hours biochemistry with lab. If you only have biochemistry but you don't have the lab, then since we don't require organic chemistry 2 as a prerequisite, you can take organic chemistry 2 with the lab, and that will substitute for your lab. And then introduction to animal science, if you don't have that at the institution you're in, but you have zoology or animal nutrition, we can substitute that. But if you can't take any of those courses, you have schools like Purdue University, North Carolina State University, Murray State University, and Oklahoma State University. They offer intro to animal science online. So you can take it online there to be able to meet our prerequisites. Now, because of the pandemic, and I do have a slide, but since we're talking about prerequisites, we usually don't take online labs, but because of the pandemic, we will accept online labs now, because a lot of institutions are, having a lot of their courses online. So we want to make sure that you have every opportunity to still apply, and we don't want to constrict you from that. We talked about the GRE. Now, clinical experience versus animal experience. We do also require a minimum of 200 clinical hours. And once again, to have a competitive application, you don't want to just settle for just 200 clinical hours. You want to exceed that. Once again, we know the pandemic, a lot of clinics and places, they didn't accept volunteers or interns due to that. And we will work with you as far as your clinical hours, but clinical hours and animal experience is different. So clinical hours, in short, is just you getting a lot of experience with a licensed veterinarian. You want to have to have a strong application, make sure that you have a diversity of clinical experience. Just don't do all small animal. Try to mix it up with small animal and large animal. If you can, maybe some exotic, some aquatic, wildlife, zoological medicine, research. Try to have a diversity of clinical experience and not just in one area. But you want to work close with a vet, assisting with diagnosis, treatment of common illnesses, performing basic physical exams, obtaining a TPR, which is temperature, pulse, respiratory rate, preparing animals for surgery, helping those same animals recover post-op. Those are some of the clinical things, placing IV catheters, performing cytology, ear swabs, fecal analysis, urinalysis, fungal culture, drawing blood, administering medications. Those are some of the things that you do to qualify as clinical experience, as long as it's with a licensed veterinarian and they can qualify the hours that you have actually put in. And because when you do when you get your veterinarian evaluation and letter of recommendation, you want to make sure that they put the hours in there, to validate how many hours that you actually receive. Now, sometimes you have more than one veterinarian that you get clinical hours in. You want to make sure that you get a letter of recommendation from all veterinarians you work under. And we'll talk about some of the recommendations after this. Now, animal experience, you want to have that as well, because in short, animal experience is something that will tell you what's normal about animal behavior. That's basically the difference between clinical and animal experience, because animal experience, if you work with animals and you know what's normal about the behavior, when you're in a clinical setting, you'll see what's abnormal about their behavior and realize that's because that's the only way you can tell, that they need treatment. That's what's unique about a veterinarian. Medical doctors, they deal with patients that can tell them exactly what their symptoms are, or what's bothering them. You just have to know the signs. You have to know what's the difference between normal and abnormal. So to strengthen your application, make sure you get animal experience, make sure you get clinical experience, make sure you have a diversity of clinical experience to strengthen your application. This is just what the VMCAS application looks like through the AAVMC. You want to make sure that you, the good thing about VMCAS the last couple of years, they open it up in January for you to begin your profile, your application profile. May 12th, middle of May, that's when the application fully opens up. And when it opens up, you can start putting your transcripts in and your recommendations. But the key is to get everything done as early as possible. I cannot emphasize how important it is to get everything in before the deadline. No less than 2 weeks before the deadline, because I've had students every year that they say they send their transcripts in, and they send it in the week of the deadline. Now, if it takes some time to get to VMCAS and let you know September 15th come, then your application will be unverified and we cannot review your application. Transcripts must be sent no later than 2 weeks before the deadline, September 15th every year. Because once again, they'll take your application fee, but you'll still be unverified. So you have to make sure that when you do this, you have all the way to from January to start your profile. You have May, the middle of May to start getting your transcripts in, getting your recommendations in, and getting everything in that you need. Don't wait till the last second. There's too many students that waste that opportunity because they don't get everything in. And it's up to you to check with your evaluators. It's up to you to check with, to make sure your transcripts have been submitted. And no one can, once you do that, the university, the college that you apply to, they cannot help in that instance. They can call VMCAS, you can call VMCAS, but it's up to VMCAS whether your application is verified or not verified. Now, as far as the Tuskegee University, we do have a supplemental application. The supplemental application is $100. You must send that in with your application, along with a passport standard size photo, which is a 2x2 photo that you can be taken at any pharmacy, CVS pharmacy or Walgreens, some Walmarts, wherever passport photos are taken. You can take that and you send that in with your application. You also send your GRE, official GRE, directly to us as well. And those are the only required documents that you need to send in to us. We require 3 evaluations, 2 from professors, 1 from a veterinarian. That's minimal. But once again, you have up to 6 that you can do via VMCAS. You want to make sure that if you do 2 or 3 veterinarians that you have clinical experience in, get all of them, submit all of them. The more the merrier. As long as you get all your veterinarian hours validated and you've done the work, submit them. Updated criteria for the pandemic. We do take and accept binary grades. So if you have passed grades and some of your prerequisites, we will accept that. We relaxed the GRE, and I have to explain that because a lot of students, when they looked on the COVID-19 changes through the AAVMC for all colleges, we didn't waive the GRE, we just relaxed it. That means if you need to get it in late, if you need an extension of getting your GRE in, we will do that. The only way we can waive it is if you have extenuating circumstances where you just could not take it, or you didn't have the technology and computers with a webcam where you couldn't take it, then you'll send that documentation into us and we can waive it. But relaxing it just means we can give you an extension, or under extenuating circumstances we can waive it. But it's not waived. You have to still submit your GRE. Once again, we can accept online lab courses, and clinical hours have been relaxed due to the pandemic and students not having the ability to get the clinical hours needed due to the pandemic. This is the address for sending in information, all your supplemental documents to Tuskegee University. You just send it into Tuskegee University, College of Veterinary Medicine, Office of Veterinary Admissions and Recruitment, Patterson Hall, 1200 West Montgomery Road, Tuskegee, Alabama. And you can put it attention to myself or just to the Office of Veterinary Admissions. And if you need this information, we definitely have it posted on our website as well. The final step in the process for Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine is the on-campus interview. Now, this year we did virtual because of the pandemic, once again, but the interview process consists of 40 to 45 minutes with 2 faculty members. The applicant must complete this phase before they can be recommended for admissions. And the interview process can be one of the most important part of the process. Once again, we don't look at just GPA, just GRE. We take in accountability of your clinical hours, your animal experience, but the interview process is very important because it really allows you the opportunity to really discuss with actual DVMs here, faculty, clinicians that actually went through vet school themselves. They work and they know what kind of student that really will be successful here. So, you know, with that, you have to make sure that you understand the interview process. You have to practice. The interview process can be very nerve-wracking, but as long as you are confident and about who you are, and you're very passionate about being a veterinarian, but you want to know things about what's current in the field, controversial topics in the field. You want to look up questions. There's a lot of places where you can look up common questions. You can go to www.studentdoctor.net, and you can find a lot of common questions that are asked in interviews, but you want to practice. You want to, find someone that can help probably ask you some of those questions and make sure that you can get comfortable in answering questions that are thrown at you as far as, science questions, questions about the field, questions about why you want to become a student, in particular, why you want to become a student here at Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine, and just really make sure that you get very comfortable. Do some mock interviews, just whatever you can do to try to really hone your interview skills and get comfortable in interviewing, because the interview by itself can make or break you. As far as cost, Tuskegee University College of Veterinary Medicine tuition is $20,585 per semester, which is a total of $41,170, along with other fees like lab fees and all the fees that come with it. It can come up to approximately $43,558 annually. This does not include room and board. So you want to make sure that you understand cost. And the way you can understand cost is when you're trying to figure out where you want to go and what colleges, what veterinary schools that you want to apply to. You want to go to the AAVMC and use the cost comparison tool. This is a very great tool because you can when you click on, you'll be able to go to those dots, hover over areas where you see the schools that you're interested in, and look to see how much each vet school costs, at least the ones that you're interested in. You want to make sure that you are planning, because this is going to be where you go for the next 4 years and the cost associated with it. Another good resource for you will be the Admitted Student Statistics by College of Veterinary Medicines. And you also can find this at the AAVMC website, and they have a lot of great tools for you, but this shows you the average class size, the average GPA for students that attend, the applicant to seat ratio, geographic distributions. This will give you a lot of information about the schools that you're thinking about applying to. Other resources here, I've listed a lot of other resources because you have to make the best informed decision that you can make when applying to vet school. So of course I have up here the AAVMC because they're going to have a lot of resources. You'll find prerequisite charts, general information charts, but changes in admissions policies related to COVID-19, that's also on the AAVMC, but this is the exact URL for that. The application portal, which I had showed you earlier, applicant help center, because you want to make sure that don't allow questions that you have to slow up your application process. They have the AAVMC, they have support teams and representatives in place to help you through your application. You need to take advantage of that. You also have the applicant guide and sample applications. Apply to vetschool.org. Make sure that you get tips. There's where you can find tips for applicants in the VMCAS 2022 cycle. Make sure your spring 2021 course grades are in before submitting an application. And I do want to take a pause and mention this because I say this all the time. If you're getting ready for application and you know you're not where you need to be GPA wise, especially for students that are applying this year and they're a senior. If you're a senior and you're trying to apply and you're not where you need to be GPA wise, if you graduate and your GPA does not meet minimum criteria, then your undergraduate degree does not go away. So if you're trying to apply and you're getting rejected because your GPA doesn't meet the minimum criteria for most vet schools, then what you need to do, you can postpone graduation for a semester or two just to retake some of the courses that you know you didn't do so well in, to make sure you can replace that grade for your GPA to be able to get boosted. Because once you graduate, that GPA doesn't go away. Now you can take other courses to still try to show that you can do well in those courses you didn't do so well in, but it doesn't replace that grade. It just only factors in that grade you received into the GPA that you already have. So, but the best way to boost your grade point average is to make sure you repeat those courses you didn't do so well in before you graduate, so your GPA can get a good boost to where you are, where you meet that minimum grade point average. Now, the other thing is, if you're on the, if you need to strengthen your application by getting a graduate or a master's program, still get that undergraduate GPA where you need to be. So then if you do need to strengthen your application by taking some graduate level courses or pursuing a master's degree, then you've already met the minimum GPA, and everything you do after that is just to strengthen that application. Here goes my office contact information. My administrative assistant, data and record coordinator, and myself. This are our phone numbers and our emails if you need to contact us. Mine is jperry@tuskegee.edu. If you just have questions on where you stand at, you can send us information, your transcripts. I get it to my data person. We'll work up a summary sheet. We'll do our best. We'll put forth our best effort to make sure that we have a good plan of action for you. The key is to really try to get advice before you need advice. So before you get to that place of applying, get some advice from the colleges that you want to apply to. And so other than that, that's the end of my presentation. And if there are any questions, I will be happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Perry. A lot of that information was really good information for students to know about, especially the how to boost their GPA in order to qualify for vet school. So if you have a question, the way we're going to do it, unmute yourself and ask the question. Did Dr. Price Johnson make it?
She did not. I don't see her on yet.
Okay, okay. I didn't want to overlook her. So
Thank you.
okay, when she comes, if she wants to jump on to say a few things, she's welcome to do that as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to open it up for questions from the students. If you have a question, just unmute yourself and ask one of the admissions persons.
Hey,
Any
Mr. Perry, this is Deval speaking. How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you, Deval?
Pretty good, pretty good. So I hear you that you said that you guys have relaxed the GRE requirement, and I just wanted a little bit more clarification on that. So you guys are still requiring it, but like there is like a minimum score that we need to make in order to qualify for admission, correct?
Right, there's no minimum score to qualify.
Okay, perfect.
I think Joshua Smith raised his hand. Oh,
First of all, how you doing today, sir?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good. I was looking at your when you said focus on looking at the auto criteria like large and small and exotic. Like, do you guys do you also do like zoos like for like wildlife? Do you ever do that for at your college? Do you have a specific area to focus on like zoo stuff like that? If I say I want to do wildlife and I want to do large, so we got have stuff like that for broad programs for that too.
Well, what we do here is we prepared you for general practice. We have a small animal teaching hospital and we have a large animal teaching hospital. If you're interested in wildlife, exotics, aquatics, then what you do is you'll seek externship in those specialties, and that's how you start beginning to get the experience you need in the specialty areas that you need. But we're strictly going to be large animal, small animal. Large animal is going to be bovine, equine. You will get classroom experience in different areas, but the thing is, it'll be preparing you for general practice, and then you'll seek out externships. And then also when you get your DVM, if you want to have a specialty, whether it's in surgery or pathology or different areas, then you would do a residency to be able to get certified in those areas, to go into, to be a specialist.
Okay, because I do want to do your large animal. That's why I really am focusing on. Because I do know the large animal veterinary rates have been diminishing. Because a lot of people focus on the cats and dogs lately. I know that.
So you're definitely able to do that large animal here.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for anybody on the panel? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, Mr. Nwafor, this is Deval speaking. I saw in your presentation that you also said that the GRE would be optional for 2022. Can you elaborate more on that, please?
Yes, so the GRE is optional for this upcoming cycle. So you don't have to take it. You know, we'll just look at your GPA and letters of recommendation. However, if you want to strengthen your application, we do advise that you do take it. We normally look for a score of a 300, so 150 verbal, 150 quantitative. But due to the pandemic and due to the lack of availability of testing sites and it being virtual and whatnot, we decided to make it optional for the cycle.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Some of the students are asking if your PowerPoints will be available. I think I have a couple of their PowerPoints. So if you send your PowerPoints to me, I will create a PDF of those PowerPoints and share with the students.
All right, I will send maybe.
Any other questions?
I guess I had a quick question for everybody. Well, for all of the reps. So what is the diversity like at each of the schools? I know, of course, about Ross and Tuskegee, but if you all could describe that a little bit more, or how important is diversity at each of the schools?
Yeah, diversity is a huge initiative for us at Ross. Currently, We have about 30% of our student body that identify as underrepresented minority students. So that's, Black African American, Asian American, Hispanic American. We have a number of different clubs and honor societies focused on the underrepresented minority, sector. And also too, a lot of our students who are minority students are taking active leadership roles on our campuses. Actually, one of our students, Jonathan Damas, is the national head for SAVMA, which is like the Student Government Association for veterinary schools. And he's actually the national head for all of the chapters, all the US chapters and international chapters. So we play a huge role in that. There's a huge DEI initiative. We want to make sure that we're an inclusive campus.
Thank you.
I can go next. Yeah, so we only have one class, unfortunately. I wish we had more, but we only have one. And about 15% of our students identify as underrepresented right now. We do have a multicultural club and an office dedicated for diversity and awareness as well. So a diversity and inclusion office that helps us with initiatives and does different events and just brings everyone together as well. So right now for our incoming class, about 15%.
I guess I go as Tuskegee University. We are diversity is very important for us. I guess I feel like we're a trailblazer in that area since Dr. Frederick Douglass Patterson, our third president, he was a veterinarian himself, and he established us in 1945 for the purpose of diversity. And we still hold to the mission of really educating and training underrepresented minorities, but we're 80% underrepresented. And then we also have right now still currently almost every nationality is represented here. We really do a great job with having our class representative of all underrepresented minority as well as majority. So it's very important to us because we want to make sure that we are giving everybody an opportunity to be able to be educated and trained in the area of veterinary sciences.
So at Midwestern, so of course at the vet schools and probably at everybody else's vet schools, there's the Voice Club, which is a diversity club that's been around for quite a while, and I feel like the Voice Club, pretty much, at least at the universities I interacted with, so OSU, I went to LSU, and then here is very, very active. And then also the cool thing is, so because Midwestern is not just a vet school, it's a healthcare university. So there's physical therapy, dental, all that stuff. And the cool thing is, so each school has made their own diversity like curriculum committee. Sorry. And then our president of the university has an overarching one. And it's really cool because everybody's like really willing to interact and everything. So like this year, Voice decided to April celebrate Diversity Week. Month. Sorry, I'm a little tired. I just gave a midterm and graded midterms, and so I'm a little. But I'm sure the students feel worse. No, I'm very much aware that probably. I mean, well, no. So wait, the average was great, actually. Sorry, going back to on subject. I'm just tired, and I know they're tired too. And Sir Albert, him, is exhausted. Anyway, but very happy to be here. So actually, this year, Voice, when they were celebrating, when we're doing April Celebrate Diversity Month, it's now become like a school-wide thing. It's great. So actually, we got our cafeteria involved. So we have different lunches, like just from all over the place. So if it's not like your typical, like I don't know, at least when I went to elementary school, they were like, oh, we're celebrating the world. And there was like tacos one day and then like barbecue and like like we go into, so there's a Persian food day. There's other like really great Indian food. It's just everything. And like we have an art show. Of course, this year it has to be virtual. And so every single student was able to like submit something. And then they got to explain their point of view. And it was just a lot of fun. It was something that started like voice, like is supposed to like veterinary related, but it was really like the president of our voice club was like, well, let's make this a university-wide thing. And like everybody hopped on board. It was great. And it just so far been a lot of fun. We even did, I didn't get to go to it because I can't dance, but there was a dance workshop for different different types of dances around the world. And you can bring your families and stuff. Obviously, everything's social distancing, and there was a cutoff, because of COVID and everything. But just a lot of fun. So sorry, and we're hoping to expand our, just keep everything going and just continue working together to make diversity a priority at Midwestern. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna shut up.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was good to share. Any other questions? Any other questions from anyone? Okay. Are you sure? Okay, we're about 10 minutes over. So I'm going to go ahead and if nobody has any additional questions, I'm going to send you the information, the contact information for everybody that was here tonight. And if you want to follow up individually, feel free to do so. Did Dr. Price Johnson make it?
She did not.
Oh, okay, okay. That's fine. That's fine. I just didn't want to, overlook her if she was out there somewhere.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and end it. I'm going to collect the PowerPoints. I think I have most of them. I'll PDF them and I'll upload them to our network, and I'll put them both in our Basecamp as well as in our mentoring network so that you'll have those. Okay, and if you have any questions, you have their contact information. Feel free to follow up with them. Okay, but thank you all for coming, giving of your time, and sharing with the students. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.